to this poll.
You can also join on slido.com and pop in the number 9389, the little code bar up there, and you can vote that way. Super easy, super simple.
Exactly. Or there are many other contact methods that you can use to get involved with us today. You can WhatsApp us on 01872 228844. You can obviously ring us on that number as well. Just make sure you get the bill payer's permission.
You can also get in touch via email. That's hello@thisischaos.co.uk. You can also get in touch on social media. That is Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Chaos TV UK. Just remember to hashtag keep it chaos.
Yes, or if you want to watch us online, you can do so by going to watchchaos.tv. Click the little Mixcloud button and you can see these smiley faces on your screens, and you can leave us a comment on there as well.
Yeah, just like Cheryl, Joe, Henry and Pete have this morning.
Lovely, thanks
for
guys.
Our Christmas start. Right. Shall we move on now?
Yeah.
Lovely. So if you are joining us on Facebook or YouTube for this week's CTEC Plus Hour, welcome. Hello. And did you know over a third of the UK workforce is aged 50 plus, and that many plan to work past the age of retirement?
Yes, and at CTEC, with our Work and Health Programme and Restart Scheme, we're proud to support hundreds of people over 50 into fulfilling careers. That's why we are delighted to be supporting National Older Workers Week 2022. We want to celebrate older workers, the skills they bring, and the empowering support that we offer. From health and well-being, such as upskilling and community support, we are passionate about helping all ages feel good, valued, and ready to find inclusive employment.
Joining us now from I Care, I Move are Helen and Pat to talk more about menopause support in the workplace.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, lovely people.
Oh, it's always nice to see some friendly faces.
Familiar.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's lovely to hear your lovely voices too. So,
thank you.
Well, thank you guys for joining us today. Obviously, the topic of conversation today, we're celebrating sort of Older Workers Week. And yeah, I think we just kind of want to start off with your thoughts on this sort of themed week and just generally when we talk about age and diversity.
Yeah, I'll go first. We're going to chat about this because we're very passionate about the ageing workforce. So we spend a lot of time working with people who feel that they're over the hill, past it, or because of their health and well-being or their health symptoms have had enough, and they walk out of the workforce, which is catastrophic for businesses. So I know from a government point of view that the ageing workforce is part of the Industrial Grand Challenge, and that is really to get behind the ageing workforce and support them, because really when you talk about somebody in their 50s, 60s, 70s, all that history, experience, learning and knowledge, like, why wouldn't you tap into that and support that better? Why wouldn't you? I just don't understand it. I think gone are the days of making room for the young and upcoming, vibrant. I think there is a huge place for we went into that category. Paving the way for future businesses to be more successful because they're embracing older and more fabulous, quite frankly.
And I think there's a lot of imposter syndrome as well in older workers in the workplace, because you see the younger ones coming in with all the great ideas and you can have a real bad time about it. But actually, I think it's about embracing the younger ones, and then they can respect the older workers for, like Helen said, the experiences that they've gone through and all their knowledge. And yeah, it's got to work both ways really. So.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a lot of benefits to employing older workers, like as you mentioned, like wealth of experience, etc. They can help in like a whole manner of ways, really, can't they?
Oh, absolutely. And I think when you look at your talent pools, there is, and we're doing so well with inclusion and diversity that we have seen time and time again that we're bringing in everyone except this older market. So I think there is quite a good piece of work to be done now to really get behind recruitment and stability in businesses, and not only recruitment, but also keeping them retention of somebody who's getting older. So just put it into perspective. There's a lot going on in somebody in their 50s, 60s, 70s. There's a lot going on in their lives, and that is partly to do with, you know, where they are in their stage of life, because there might be older relatives they're caring for, there might be children, grandchildren even, and a lot of life laundry going on, not to mention their health.
Exactly, like you said, and let's touch on some of those things that you say are going on sort of behind the scenes as well. I know a lot of the work you guys do is focused on women's health and the menopause. So, you know, can we talk about that and how that can affect the workforce?
Yeah, sure. So we know that people just think that menopause are the hot flushes, and we talk a lot around this, but it can be lack of confidence. It can be insomnia. Chronic insomnia can affect somebody so badly, brain fog, and the insomnia can exacerbate the brain fog. So for somebody who's maybe at the top of their career or getting there, to face brain fog and insomnia and feeling fatigued, and they might have joint pain, they might be bleeding, they might have all sorts of things going on emotionally, physically, mentally, that in the workplace the colleagues and kind of the employers wouldn't necessarily recognise. So that woman has to deal with all of those and feel like they have to hide it because they don't want it to affect their employment.
Yeah, it's that sensation of not being able to cope.
Yeah.
And we hear, I'd say that's probably the biggest
I
comment
think
now,
so.
that you know, it's like, what's wrong with her? She's changed.
Yeah.
And she is really trying to keep, you know, she's sticking plasters on all the broken parts of her, and she's trying to hold it all together without losing face, because then there becomes shame, embarrassment, you know, they feel humiliation, and there's a whole stack of really negative emotions that sit along that. And that's why I think talking about aging is such an important thing. Normalizing aging is an important thing as we move forward. So, you know, younger generations won't be so fearful of this.
Yeah, and I think that you kind of said the workforce not recognising what it is, but actually the woman sometimes doesn't recognise what it is.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
if the employers can know that, can have that training that actually this might be what's happening to that woman or the females in their workplace, then you're a step ahead really, and you can kind of have that chat with them and start thinking about reasonable adjustments and things that they might need in the workplace so that they can continue to work. Because we have seen, and we're regularly told at our meetings, that these women are leaving their employments and then getting treated and then going back or looking for another job and then can't. So, and they're losing their most valuable employees to menopause.
Yeah. And other than actually, you know, just sitting down and listening and taking these things into account, what else can employers do to support these workers?
Brilliant. Really good question, because this isn't about age bashing, this is age supporting. Things like sanitary towels and hygiene products in the bathrooms. Firstly, there's a cost, and also there is that issue because you've got to hide any of your sanitary items walk into the loo instead of accepting it's a natural thing. So that's at the very least that. Then there would be things like flexible working, acknowledgement. So in terms of a positive bias or a positive assumption, you can say that this woman is in her 40s, there will be a deficiency in her hormones, guaranteed. And as a result, we need to maybe modify even down to things like the chair she's sat on. And maybe the uniform she's wearing, if she is wearing a uniform, because all of those things might make her hot, might make her feel uncomfortable. She might be dealing with health issues around the pelvic floor. There's so many things that could be happening, I think, and having that normal conversation.
Support groups are brilliant. And, you know, in the workplace, then we've helped people set up the support groups, the menopause support groups, so that there's somebody for them to go to. There's that specific person that has a little bit of knowledge about menopause, and that they can go to that person and say, what can I do? What do you think? How can you help me? I need help. And for some people, just that being able to be listened to, being able to talk about their symptoms and how it's affecting them at work. Because I think it's not until you start speaking to somebody and others that you recognise, don't you? Oh my word, it's not just me.
No.
All of those things are menopause or perimenopause, and it can be.
What's the last thing we need to remember? Temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you can always put on layers, but you can't cool down. So, placing, windows opening, air conditioning, fans on your tables. There's so many different things you can do, but temperature is quite a big one. And then it becomes a downward spiral. You're hot and bothered. You get stressed because you're hot and bothered. Then you get even more hot and bothered. And then you're worried about your clothes. You worry about how you smell. And then you're off your game, because if you're worrying about what's going on here, you've forgotten what you're doing in front of you. So, temperature is such a big one and such an easy one to adjust in the workplace.
And I think patience as well. Having that patience to recognise that actually, I'm rubbish, I forget things every day. And Helen goes, you remember I said this to you yesterday? And it was about, and I go, oh yeah, that was it. And it just takes a little bit of time.
It's so true.
But it's so frustrating. But if a little bit of patience.
Simple things, isn't it, like that? And guys, I'm so sorry, we are running out of time, but I want to squeeze one more question in with you. What's some final advice that you can give to anyone who's maybe struggling with this?
Talk about it. There are people you could talk to. Reach out to us at info@icareandmove.com. But talk, have a conversation, join some valid groups. Report your symptoms. So keep an eye on your own symptoms. There are symptom trackers out there for menopause, and the Balance app, for example, where you can keep recording your symptoms, because menopause ultimately is a deficiency in hormones. And when you're deficient, you can actually have some of those hormones put back. So have that conversation. It's really important to talk about it. You're not alone. You are supported, and if you talk about it, other people will identify what's going on, and they'll be right behind you to support you with it.
And one little tiny thing: get the expert advice. Don't listen to your friend or your mother or your granny.
Yeah. Talk to the experts like us at iCare and Move.
There we go.
Yeah.
Nice plug there.
Hey, we had to get a plug in. You
Yeah.
it absolutely deserve that plug as well for all the work you guys do. So yeah, just fantastic.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. There's some excellent advice in there, and it's great to hear more about the support available to those who need it.
Thank
Our
you,
pleasure.
guys.
Lovely. Thank you.
As always.
See you soon.
Thank
Bye.
you. Now, as part of National Older Workers Week, we took the chance to speak with Nikki Reynolds, a careers advisor for the National Careers Service. We hear more from her about her role and the support she offers to those over 50. Let's take a look.
This week, November 21st to the 25th, is National Older Workers Week, highlighting the importance and benefits of age diversity in the workplace. Not only is it vital employers are age gap inclusive when it comes to recruitment, but it's just as important to support older workers already employed. Today, we're speaking with Nikki Reynolds from the National Careers Service to hear more about the wonderful workshops she runs for the over 50s. Thank you so much for joining us today, Nikki.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
It's all right. So firstly, could you just start off and tell us more about your role as a careers advisor for the National Careers Service?
Yes, of course. So the National Career Service provides free impartial careers advice for anyone over 18, but people who are over 50 and seeking work are a key priority for us. And we help people to find vacancies, to improve their CVs and applications. We also help people prepare for interviews and find training if they need to upskill or are looking at a career change. And we also do skills assessments to help kind of identify those skills. And we do that through one-to-one face-to-face appointments or appointments over the phone. We also run workshops and we attend events like job fairs as well.
Wonderful. So today we're shining a light on National Older Workers Week, as you know. So what advice would you have for those over a certain age just that are looking for a career change or potentially to get back into work?
My piece of advice would just be to really stay positive and be proactive and recognize your value. It's also really important to keep up to date with your skill set and learn new skills. So that's something that we can help with. And find ways to really showcase all of that really valuable life experience that you have on your applications. You have a huge amount of life experience and work experience to draw from. And so we just want to make sure that you're shouting about that. And really think about what you're looking for from work now. Are you looking for part-time work? Maybe something more flexible, maybe something with less responsibility, or a role where you can coach and mentor others and kind of pass on your experience.
That sounds wonderful. So you were talking about kind of helping people finding their skills in the beginning there. Like, could you tell me a bit more, like, kind of what that entails? Like, what would you do?
Of course. So we have something called a skills health check on our National Career Service website, which is a really useful tool for kind of identifying your strengths, your weaknesses, sectors that you might be really suited to based on your experience, your motivations and your interests. So we would sit with somebody and talk through their previous life experiences, their work experiences, things that they enjoyed, things that they felt they were really strong at, and what kinds of things they're looking for now. And we'd kind of explore different types of job roles that might be interesting to them and use that skills assessment to explore job profiles on our website.
Wonderful. And talking about anyone that's looking for a career change, what are some of the resources that you'd recommend?
Of course. So, well, first of all, I'd recommend our National Career Service website. As I said, we've got all sorts of job profiles on there, the skills assessment, but there are also lots of guides to help you find work, guides on how to write a CV, a cover letter, how to prepare for interviews, how to do a job application, how to search for vacancies. So I would recommend using that. There is also a website called No Desire to Retire. And they have a huge amount of resources on there, lots of articles, blog posts, things to CV templates to help you. And there's also a function on there where you can upload your CV, and they work specifically with employers who are seeking people with more experience. They also have ways that you can improve your IT skills, which sometimes is a barrier or a perceived barrier for people who are older looking for work. Age UK is another really fantastic resource. They have, again, lots and lots of advice on seeking work when you are more experienced. And then I might recommend something like Alison or Vision to Learn. They're really, really good websites that offer all sorts of free training that you can use to upskill if you have gaps in your skill set.
That sounds wonderful. Sound like really, really useful resources and websites that people can go to, because a lot of things may have changed since someone was first stepping onto the job market, say 20, 25 years ago, to where they are now.
Yes.
in terms of like CVs and all things like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I mentioned it briefly at the beginning, but I understand you run weekly workshops for people over 50. Could you just talk me through that, please?
Yeah, of course. So the workshops really are about building people's confidence and breaking down some of those perceived barriers. So we focus on things like employability skills, so how to write an up-to-date, really strong CV that you can tailor to a specific job. We talk about preparing for interviews, the kind of questions that employers are asking now at interview. We look at the labour market, the kind of transferable skills that employers are most often seeking, and how to identify those transferable skills in your previous employment and showcase them on your applications. And we also talk about widening your job search. So using things like social media, LinkedIn, those kinds of things to job search, because they are much more used these days by employers, and sometimes people find that they're not that comfortable with using social media these days. So we do a bit on that. And we identify any training needs that you might have and signpost to good providers that can help you kind of fill those gaps.
Wonderful. What would you say are the benefits to these workshops for the participants that come in?
The feedback that we've had is that people just feel much more confident and motivated to move forward, and they have a clearer idea of some really simple next steps that they can take, ways to break down what can sometimes feel quite overwhelming when you're re-entering the job market, particularly after a long break in your career, or if you're looking for a change. Sometimes confidence can be low, and that kind of huge amount of information is kind of difficult to digest. So I think people find it really helpful in breaking that down into manageable steps, and having somebody on hand that can kind of hold their hand through the process a little bit.
Absolutely. Have you had quite a big uptake in this? How long has it been running for?
Yeah, we've been running the workshops weekly since around end of August, September, and we do have a really good level of attendance and really good engagement with all of our customers. So yeah, it seems to be really benefiting a lot of people.
Wonderful. That's really great to hear. So what would you say to employers when it comes to age diversity? Because I know a lot of employers may be a bit more hesitant to employ someone that's above the age of 50. Like, what would you say to them?
I guess I would say that you really can't emphasize enough how important diversity is in a workplace. The more diverse your workforce, the more life experiences and skill set that you have to draw from. And from my own experience, the colleagues that I've worked with who have more experience and are older have been the people that have really influenced me the most, and been able to impart knowledge and improve my performance and mentor and coach me. So I think they have a huge amount of value to give, and it's really important that we recognise that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nikki, for taking the time to join us today. It's been absolutely great to hear about the support on offer at the National Careers Service and the wonderful work being done. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. It was really, really great to chat to Nikki from the National Careers Service yesterday.
Brilliant stuff. Enjoyed that.
Lovely. So did you know that if you're over 50, you're entitled to a free confidential NHS health check? Whilst on our travels, we spoke with One Life Suffolk to learn more about these health checks. Let's take a look. Welcome back to Chaos TV. We're at the Work and Wellbeing Employment MOT Fair at East Coast College, along with CTEC Plus, and we're on the sofa now. We've had a little bit of a change in scenery, but we've got the guys from One Life Suffolk here for a health MOT. They're going to tell us all about what that is. So, Martin, can you tell us a little bit more about One Life Suffolk and the kind of work that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning. So One Life Suffolk provide health and wellbeing services to anyone living in the Suffolk area, predominantly people that have long-term conditions. We target deprived areas, and we offer services like weight management, physical activity, obviously our NHS Health Reach programme, stop smoking services, and children and families' health and wellbeing.
Lovely, that sounds amazing. Jennifer, can you tell us a little bit more about the NHS health check that you're going to do?
So the NHS Health Check, as you've already said, is for people between 40 and 74 that have no pre-existing cardiovascular disease. And it looks at your lifestyle factors, it looks at your blood pressure, cholesterol, your risk of developing diabetes, and then all the information gets sent to your GP, and we can also make referrals and signpost you to organisations. And it's all about identifying risk and helping you to reduce those risks.
That sounds amazing. So thankfully they've not asked me to do a health check live on TV. However, we do have a very willing volunteer with us, and that's Lauren. Welcome. Thank you so much for offering your services to us. I think they're offered. So Lauren, how would you describe your lifestyle?
Yeah, my lifestyle's really active. So apart from working full time, I play football outside of work as well, which is 2 to 3 times a week. So apart from that and the gym, very active lifestyle so far.
Yeah, way more active than me. So kind of what kind of things do you do to keep you feeling like good and healthy and like pepped up?
I think it's really eating well, making sure I go to the gym quite often, spending time outdoors, like I said, with football, time with friends, so things like that really.
That's wonderful. I believe we're going to be doing a blood pressure test on you. I feel like if we'd like to start that one now,
Okay.
start the health MOT. So how long does it usually take to do these kind of tests?
It takes round about 25 to 30 minutes, and
Okay.
it's once every 5 years.
Yeah. We'll get started with that one. So I believe we're doing a blood pressure test and a ECG, I believe, is what we were talking about. So how important are these things to kind of get done, Martin?
Really important, because we all need to maintain our health, keep on top of our own well-being. Quite often conditions can creep up on people, specifically off the back of the pandemic, where people haven't had access to health professionals. So having regular checks like this is really, really important to making sure that you're fit and healthy for life.
Wonderful. We starting on that one. I'm assuming it's going. I think I could hear it. This is when we end up getting an interesting score out of it. Lovely. So that's just going on. So this doesn't take long at all. Quick, easy, simple to do. How would you book one of these?
So you can either go onto our website, which is onelifesuffolk.co.uk, and sign on there on the online booking form, or you can phone our number, which is 01473 718 193, and you can book a health check that way as well.
Wonderful, and they're completely free as well.
They're completely free.
Wonderful. So you don't have any reason not to do it, do you?
Absolutely not. And as you get older, as you hit 40 and then onwards, it's a good idea to have a little MOT. Midlife MOT is what we call it. Age itself is a risk factor, so it's a good idea to make sure there's no other risk factors compounding.
Yeah,
that
I
as
love
well.
that you call it an MOT as well. Just getting a little checkup.
So the blood pressure was really good, really good. So that's
Yay!
perfect. Would you like me to do the little ECG?
Yeah, we'll go for the ECG as well, because heart health is really, really important, especially as you kind of like progress in your life, get older.
I'll just show you what I need you to do.
Yeah.
If you could just tell us what Lauren's doing there. I know you're it's a lot of multitasking.
I know. So we call it a little ECG because it is. It's basically looking at the rhythm of the heart. So we can all take our own pulse, which should be between 60 and 80 beats a minute. But how regularly is the heart beating? That's what we need to know. So this particular test is really useful for identifying atrial fibrillation, which is an irregular heartbeat, which is really common. You get no symptoms with it, same as high blood pressure, no symptoms with it. But if you have it, you're 5 times more likely to suffer strokes.
Oh, wow.
So it's a good idea to have this checked at the time of the health check, and then we can make referrals to your GP if we discover it.
Yeah. What are some of the other some of the other checks you do during these health checks?
So we do the cholesterol as well, which is just a finger prick test, and that looks at how good a diet you have, how much saturated fat you have in your diet. We also do height and weight, which will give us your BMI and is an indicator for type 2 diabetes. And we have a chat about all lifestyle factors, and we look into family history of cardiovascular disease. And then we get a rough idea, percentage rough idea, as well as your heart age, what your risks for cardiovascular disease are over the next 10 years.
That
So
sounds
it's
wonderful.
quite a good indicator.
Yeah, really quite thorough as well.
Very thorough, yeah.
Wonderful. Martin, do you have any top tips for well-being?
Absolutely. I think one of the best top tips I can give is just to make time for yourself. We all spend a lot of time looking after other people, and if you're not in the equation yourself, then obviously you're not going to be able to make those impacts. So yeah, take time, self-care, do the things right for you, and you'll be okay.
That sounds wonderful. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Thank you all for coming on today. Thank you for kind of being a guinea pig, Lauren.
No problem.
It's been wonderful to have you on, even with a few technical issues. It was really great
Nice.
to speak to One Life Suffolk. That
Yeah.
was when we were over in Lowestoft a few months ago. But I learned so much during that as well.
It's a really important message, isn't it? Just having those health checks. So really good stuff there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you were unable to join us this morning, Mandy from Working Wise joined us to talk more about National Older Workers Week. Here's what she had to say. This week, November 21st to 25th, is National Older Workers Week, highlighting the importance and benefits of age diversity in the workplace. Not only is it vital employers are age inclusive when it comes to recruitment, but it's just as important to support older workers already employed. Today, we're speaking with Mandy Garner from Working Wise to hear more about National Older Workers Week and how we can encourage age diversity. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mandy.
Hi, nice to be here.
Lovely. Firstly, just to start off, can you just tell us a little bit more about Working Wise?
Yes, so Working Wise was set up in 2019. And basically it's a jobs and news website. So we advertise usually a sort of range of flexible different types of jobs. And we also have a kind of magazine element to it. So it has two kind of audiences. One audience is HR people, HR experts, and the other is the candidates themselves. So we cover all sorts of issues around best practice for older workers and any news about anything related to older workers.
Lovely. So it really is just a hub for employers and employees alike then. So what do you cover in your newsletters?
So it can be anything. So there's lots of reports that come out. So it can cover everything from sort of older workers are not a homogenous group, but it's workers over the age of 50 and onwards, and there's all sorts of issues that they're facing, and that could be issues like carers or people coming back to the workplace after taking a career break. It can be retirement type issues. It can be flexible working. It can be any of those kind of issues that come up. Pensions comes up quite a lot, and at the moment there's a lot about economic inactivity because there's been a large rise in the number of older workers who have become economically inactive since the pandemic. So there's a lot on that, and we also do a kind of range of different features. So we'll talk to employers about what they're doing, and we also have a lot of case studies of people within particular jobs. But we have a series called Working Lives, which particularly aims to sort of subvert, I guess, sort of negative stereotypes about older workers. For example, the idea that older people can't learn new things. And so what we do is we just talk to people about their working lives and just show how many changes people have had to adapt to over the last decades, and how kind of resourceful people are.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. So I know that Working Wise is not the only hat you wear. There's also working mums and working dads as well, I believe.
Yes. So basically, I am the editor of Working Mums. We have another editor for Working Dads. Working Mums started in the mid-2000s, and it's a similar kind of format. It was started basically because there were a lack of flexible jobs around at the time and a lot of demand for them. So we started the website up and approached employers and got lots of jobs on there, flexible type jobs, whatever that means. It could be anything from home working to part-time to compressed hours to flexi hours, whatever form flexibility takes. And then I came in and was doing all the news sort of side again, and we have a kind of panel of employment law experts that can answer people's questions and give careers advice and all that kind of thing. And Working Dads came along soon afterwards.
That's amazing. So there's kind of something for everyone there between all the stuff that you do.
Yes. Eventually we'll cover the whole working life cycle. That's the whole I guess the idea is the kind of multi-generational workforce. That's what we're seeing, 4 or 5 generations within the workforce. That's as the population ages, and so there's lots of similarity. There's lots of things that can be learned from what's happened with working mums, and some of the initiatives like gender pay gap and all that kind of thing that can be taken across different sort of protected characteristics.
Of course. So today we are talking about National Older Workers Week. I've touched on it a little bit briefly in the intro there, but could you just tell us a little bit more about kind of what it entails, where it came from?
Yeah, so we set it up last year was the first one, and National Older Workers Week is just an opportunity to sort of have a kind of spotlight on the issue and to highlight some of the challenges. So we produce a survey every year. So one of the looks at the data from the survey. It's quite in depth. There's loads and loads of questions there that we ask people, and that's from the candidate's point of view. So we want to see what's happening from their sort of side, and then we have a session that is looking at what employers are doing, what some of the more progressive employers are doing, and that's kind of meant to give people ideas and inspiration about what they could do and take away. And then we have a candidate session, which is giving advice, straight. People can ask questions and get answers from careers advisors and experts about things like CVs and how to pitch your CV, particularly things like career breaks. That's a real big issue for people, and interview techniques and all that kind of thing. Things have changed in the last few years. Everything's changing all the time.
Yeah, so it's quite good to kind of upskill, I guess, the older generation, because things have changed so much from when they were potentially like my age and applying for jobs. You can do video interviews now and all sorts of stuff. So it's really good that you're trying to give them the resources.
Yeah, because you can do not just videos, but you can do kind of asynchronous video. You can do a video of yourself speaking. Sometimes you have to do that for an interview, and then you can send it whenever you're able to do it, and it's just sort of getting people up to speed on what the best tips are for doing those things.
Absolutely. What would you say are some of the benefits when it comes to employing older workers? There's obviously they've got like a wealth of experience, sometimes like their whole lives, but like what else is there?
Yeah, I mean, the wealth of experience is shouldn't be sort of underestimated. It's having seen different scenarios over time, having resilience, having developed sort of resilience over the years, because you've had, a lot of the people I speak to, for example, for the Working Lives series, they've been through various sort of restructuring exercises and all sorts of things. There's been so much change in the last 20, 30 years, and they've developed a kind of resilience and an ability. They've often seen some sort of similar types of scenarios coming up in the past, and they're sort of well equipped to work on to take those kind of challenges on. And then there's all the life experience that they've experienced as well. So a lot of people who've had career breaks, for example, for looking after children or elder care or that kind of thing, they sometimes think that they haven't, what have I got to offer? But there's a lot of things that you've learnt from sort of managing the care of young people or older people, and managing your and being able to often juggle work at the same time.
Wonderful. So talking about kind of age discrimination and things in the workplace, how much of an issue is this?
Yeah, I mean, age discrimination is actually, I think there was a recent report which said age discrimination was one of the top forms of discrimination claims that have been in the last year or so. So age discrimination can affect both younger people as well as older people, so it's worth bearing that in mind too. But I think also because there's growing awareness of issues around age discrimination for older workers, I think there's been an interest in this. So yes, a lot of the discrimination that takes place is quite kind of under the radar kind of stuff. It's not necessarily really blatant stuff. So it's the kind of thing that we see in terms of people feeling that like the interview panel, that they're just not, they glaze over. The kind of questions that are asked are aimed at younger people. The recruitment process, a lot of people find the recruitment process really difficult, and they feel, so I think in our survey, I'm just trying to look at the figures, we had 56% felt that they had experienced ageism in the recruitment process, often in the application process, and a lot of them have adjusted their CVs as a result. So they try to disguise their age as a result, because they feel that they're not getting interviews, and if they get interviews, they're not getting the job, even though they have a lot of experience, and it's because of their age. So that's really telling that so many people are feeling that they have to do that.
Thank you so much to Mandy there from Working Wise. If you want to catch the full interview, you can find this and all of today's interviews on our YouTube.
Yes, and we just want to say a big thank you as well to all our guests in this last hour. Nikki from the National Careers Service, and of course Helen and Pat from iCare iMove.
If you'd like to get in touch with the National Careers Service, you can call their advisor line on 0800 100 300 or head to nationalcareers.service.gov.uk.
And of course, if you want to contact us here at Chaos, we can signpost you as well to all the right departments. You can WhatsApp us on 01872 228844.
You can also get in touch via email, hello@thisischaos.co.uk. You can also get in touch on social media. That's at Chaos TV UK on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter.
Yes, or you can get in contact via Mixcloud. Just go to watchchaos.tv, click the Mixcloud button and leave us a comment and we can pass all your details on.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that brings us to the end of our CTech Plus hour. If you're joining us on Facebook or YouTube and want to stay tuned, head over to watchchaos.tv.
Brilliant stuff. Well, what a nice hour that was.
It was. It was really nice to learn all about the different things because I guess because we're younger.
Yes.
We're both in our 20s and I don't really think about things like that because I don't have to. I'm not an employer and I'm obviously not of that age yet. So I don't kind of think about the different challenges that people face getting